Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitamina Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Somehow this camera cannot. So we're continuing our study of Bhagavad-Gita chapter 5. In the last passage, we were hearing about the enlightenment of the karma yogi, basically their inner life. And in short, whatever they're experiencing internally prevents them from running after the world like ordinary materialistic persons who are attached to the world and the objects therein. They know that such objects lead to suffering, and therefore they do not find their delight in them. Of course, we ourselves also have that experience, but we are less intelligent. So we continue to try to derive happiness from the same objects, even though it's not working out. Adanta gobir vishatam to mishram, puna punash charvita charvanana. So this is a prayer from Prahlad Maharaj, short statement. It says that generally the souls in this world are adhantago. Adhantago means their senses are like untamed animals. And so vishatam to mishram, they gradually bring us to hell. They're like, this way, please. And we're like, okay. Puna punash charvita charvananam, and we continue to chew that which has already been chewed. I always joke about that, just like growing up in middle school, and some friend was having some gum, and he didn't want to share. You say, can I get a piece? He said, I have ABC gum. You're like, oh, yeah, I'll take that. ABC means already been chewed. So he would take the gum out of his mouth and then give it to you. I don't want that. No, this is ABC gum. It has already been chewed. So, puna punash charvita charvananam. Souls in this world, they're chewing that which has already been chewed. I mean, that already been chewed means you already tried to get enjoyment out of it. It has no enjoyment. Still, you're trying to chew it. Just like gum example. Nowadays, somehow the way they manufacture the gum, within 3 or 4 chews, the flavor is gone. The way they've manufactured it. But you want to get your money's worth. So you go on chewing. When there's no flavor is there, you still go on chewing it, isn't it? You have this experience. I haven't had gum in a long time, but I remember, man, after 3 bites, flavor gone. So you are chewing it 5, 10, 15 minutes just to get your money's worth. So similarly, you're in some position in this world trying to enjoy some object. It has already lost flavor. Still, you're just trying to push it out. The best example is to give us romantic relationships. Those never get old. Those are always crystal clear, especially for those of us who've been in more than one romantic relationship. In the beginning, it's just like, you start writing poetry and stuff. You don't even know how to write poetry. All of a sudden, you become a poet, like intuitively. Your eyes are like this, your body is like this, your sentence is like this. And after some time, the thing loses its flavor, and there's so much altercation happening. So you try to make it work, but you could tell it has an expiration date. The expiration date is coming up. So you're trying to make it work. So this is a material world is like the tetrad, chewing that which has already been chewed. So of course, after having that experience, one tells oneself, "I'll never do this again. I'll never do this again." And then less than 1 month later, you do it again. This is because why do you do it again? Because unless you're realizing yourself internally, you have no sovereignty over your body. This word was used earlier in chapter 5. The word Prabhu means the master, the king of his kingdom, if you say. The body, mind, senses, that's the kingdom that we have, we're supposed to have control over. But unless you actually realize yourself and realize the happiness that inheres in the self, then you actually have no sovereignty over the body. So although you may tell yourself, I'll not do it again, you will be forced to do it again. Against your will. Against your will. Just like sometimes, the same example, a different one. With the phone, you tell yourself, I'll get off at this time. Just one more minute though. One more minute. One more minute. So I say at 9 o'clock I'll cut off the phone. And you say one more minute. 9:01. 9:01 comes. Okay, one more minute. 9:02 comes. One more minute. Okay, 5 more minutes. And that way 3 hours is going by until the eyes are getting bloodshot red and it's late at night and the body just just shuts out on you. So why you cannot stop? Because we have no sovereignty over our body. So we'll be forced into those positions again and again and again, unless there's realization of the self different from the body. Yes? We've been in many embarrassing situations where we say, I'll not do this again and again. We are caught in the same embarrassing situation. Forced into that situation, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that means one needs realization of the self in order to really control their kingdom, control their body, their mind, their senses. So we're hearing about that person, this karma yogi. So the karma yogi, he's the one who is not, the karma yogi is not disengaged with the world by becoming a monk or an ascetic in the forest. He's engaged in the world of sense objects, just as we are, but he is with a totally different awareness. So whatever he's in that, isn't it? So that is a difference. He makes a choice and we are forced. So we have been hearing about this person's inner life. So we'll finish the passage that we started last week that continues to describe this. The verse we're on, we stopped at is 523. So we'll 523 to the end of the chapter, which is verse 29. So in 523, some more indicators of this enlightened person's inner life is given. Shaknoti haiva ya sorbhum prak sharira vimokshanat kama krodho bhavan vegam sayukta sasuki naraha. So before giving up his present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well doomed. So one who in this present body is able to tolerate. So for how long I have to tolerate? Prak sharira vimokshana. You tolerate to the point of giving up the body. Sharira means body. Vimokshana means becoming free from the body. So tolerate up to the point of giving up the body. So that means throughout your life, you're able to tolerate. And tolerate what? Kama, kroda, ubhavam vegam. The urges generated from kama and kroda. So the urge. Got that urge. You get an urge. Huh? They call it
The 7-year itch.
The 7-year itch. Only 7 years.
No, cyclically, every 7 years it becomes irresistible.
Every 7 years, I feel like it's irresistible on a daily basis. I guess that's just me. Kama kroda ubhavam vegam. The urge created by kama means lust or desire, and kroda means anger. So urges, just like kama means the lust, heat. Heat is the first time I heard this word heat, I've mentioned this probably before, but it's just, the first time I heard the word heat was when I was 17. I had moved to New York and I was staying in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, with my roommates. One was a cousin of mine. And one night we had a cat, and the cat the whole night, the whole night. And I was like in the room where the cat was at, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm gonna strangle this cat. The whole night, I couldn't get any rest the whole night. So finally, the next morning, I said, what's wrong with this cat? Now I believe in nonviolence and everything, but this is before spiritual life. I said, what's wrong with this cat? So the cat's going through heat. I'm like, heat? What is heat? And then he explained what is heat. Heat means when, that kama vegam, that urge generated by lust is there. Wants to get it on. But there's no one to get it on with. So just the whole night. So similarly, everybody you see out in the street, of course, we have some appearance of civility, but basically what's going You see them in there. People are on the train stations or the bus stations checking each other out. And at a certain point, you're not able to tolerate that also. At some point, you just crack. I'm sure we have experiences of the cracking point. You try to tolerate, be a good boy, be a good girl, but then you have cracking points, and we don't want to go into the embarrassing situations when that happens. Yes, you have this experience, the embarrassment of cracking. Yes, embarrassing and cracking.
Yeah.
So, yes, I need to make sure I'm not the only conditioned soul up in here. So, kama, krodha, ubhavam, vegam. So, how long one has to tolerate? For the whole of one's life, and tolerating the urges of kama and krodha, anger. So that means for a particular yogi, they also experience the shifts in the mind, but they're able to tolerate it. They're able to endure it. We experience shift in the mind and we're not able to endure. We have cracking points. But this yogi is so much connected to his actual self that although he has awareness of these different shifts in the mind, which may generate kama, sometimes generate krodha sometimes, they're able to endure that shift without becoming disturbed. As I've been mentioning many times, the mind shifts a little bit, the slightest suggestion of the mind, and we just follow it. We have no tolerance, no fitness, no strength. The slightest suggestion of the mind. And then just like many times when we have fasting days every fortnight, we call it Akadashi. So that time when I was living in the monastery, I was thinking, I'm very serious. So Akadashi, I would do like full fast. I want to do a full fast on Akadashi and really go deep into my chanting, my spiritual life. Nirjal means without water. I would try Nirjal sometimes, but that was particularly tough. Sometimes I would just do just water. But many times what would actually happen, it wouldn't even make it that far. Many times what would happen is like, I'm going fast for sure. And then I'd be like in the temple room or something, or go downstairs in the kitchen, and then they made fries. We hardly ever got fries. I was like, all right, next Akadashi. Because fries are there. That means the slightest suggestion in my mind, I said I was going to do something, but the slightest suggestion in the mind, and then I surrendered to that. And that's just an example how, in one sense, we kind of condition ourselves to, I like to say it like this, condition ourselves to weakness, or condition ourselves to capitulate to the movements of the mind. We're so accustomed to capitulating to the mind that we have no endurance. And without that, how you will achieve higher goal also. Actually, this verse kind of reflects chapter 2, verse 14 and 15, where Krishna also says one who's able to tolerate these shifts in the mind, then for him, amrita will be attained. The immortal nectar of liberation will be obtained. But we are conditioned our minds to surrender so much, or condition ourselves to surrender to the mind, that there be no amrita for us. There will just be the suffering that comes with following the mind. But this person, he's able to do that. So one who can tolerate until he quits his body, the urges of kama and krodha, sayukta sasuki nara. So sayukta, he is linked to a higher reality, to the reality that is the spirit, Brahman, or Krishna. Sayukta means, basically yukta means one who is in communion with God or with the spiritual reality. And because he's in union, sasuki, he is happy. Naraha, he is a human being. It's not always translated like that, but I saw it like translated like that in one place. I really liked it. That he is a human being. I'm like, well, what about the rest of us? You say human. Dvipad pashu. Dvipad pashu means two-legged animal. So the animals, they are interested in eating, sleeping, and mating, and defending themselves, fearing. What is that? Ahara nidra bhaya maitunamcha. Ahara means eating. Nidra means sleeping. Like today, I slept almost 12 hours. I'm still spiritual. I was recovering. And maitunam means sex, and bhaya means fearing. And so the animals and humans, they have this in common. So what is the difference between human and animal then? So the Shastra says that, well, human can follow dharma, whereas the animal cannot. He can pursue spiritual life. Or as Prabhupada likes to put it, and I really particularly like this explanation, Prabhupada said the difference between a human and an animal is that a human can hear and an animal cannot. In one purport in the Bhagavatam, a human can hear the sacred text and grow, whereas an animal cannot. So if you don't hear the sacred text and make adjustment accordingly, then you're not human. That is here, sayukta sasuki nara. Then you are a yogi, you are happy, and you are human, if you can do this. But if the mind gets a little bit of heat, and then you just go after it, then you are animal. I see in Vrindavan, monkeys do the same thing. They're doing the same thing. They get a little urge, they just grab them one monkey that whoever monkey's walking by, they just grab and rape, and then leave. Then we are also doing like that. Some urges come in, and we just surrender to the urge immediately. They're also animal. What is the difference? Actually, there is a difference. The animals don't have to work so hard. They would actually pity us. Like the monkeys will see, oh, poor fellow. He is getting some urge. Now he has to work 9-to-5 job, make so much money, dress nicely, put nice picture for the what do you call it, the Tinder or the different dating apps. Monkeys, we don't do all that. We just grab, rape, and finish. They may have kids also. We don't take responsibility for that. Okay, that we have in common nowadays. They don't take your responsibility. So the animals would pity us, actually.
Also, the animals don't have sin when they do that.
Yes, they don't have sin. Yeah, there aren't consequences for their behavior, whereas there are consequences for ours. But you will be forced to be an animal unless you become self-realized. This verse is also indicating that. You will be forced to, all of us will be forced to be animal. We call it our the dark side or the lower self or the shadow. So you can give it whatever name you want. You're an animal. You'll be forced by the body itself. As I said, no one can have sovereignty over their body unless they become self-realized. And that's why this is a good advertisement for becoming self-realized. Otherwise, you'll be forced into the position of animal, and then you will suffer like an animal. So you see, you don't see so much here. You can go to the zoo. But at least if you go to India, you can see the animals everywhere. You see how much they're suffering. So that would be our position also. Sometimes we say you will become a dog. And people in America, they're used to this sort of dog. So I said, oh, that doesn't seem so bad. So we have to modify. You will become a dog in India. Then you'll see what is dog. Horrible situation. So next verse, so this is an indication of the inner life. They can tolerate all the urges because they're linked to a higher reality. And they're happy. They're deriving happiness from that. So they remain in the position of human, safe and sound. And then the next verse, 524, more about their inner life is told. Yaha anta sukha antar aramas tatantar jyotir eva yaha sa yogi brahma nirvana brahma bhuta adhikachati. So antasukha, their happiness is within, and as opposed to without. Most of us are waiting for the environment to be perfect, and then we'll be happy. So that is folly, because the environment is not in our control. Antar aramas, their enjoyment is within, not without. Their enjoyment is not with the sense objects, right? The cellular phones and the YouTube. Just like sometimes you go to a place where there is no Wi-Fi, and how will I survive here? You love that when there's no Wi-Fi? Yeah. You love that for a weekend. I love phones. You don't like phones? Lucky you. But for the rest of us, when we go to any location, the first question we ask, excuse me, what's the Wi-Fi? What's the Wi-Fi password? Yeah, everyone's saying it so politely. Excuse me. It's like, we don't have any Wi-Fi. What do you mean? And then they're like, all of a sudden, like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, the evil side just comes out. What do you mean there's no Wi-Fi? Tony, we need to get out of here. This is intolerable, insufferable. Yeah, one thinks like that. How can I live without this object? Or sometimes people don't have partner, and they think how I can live without partner. That's like, not only can you live, you can probably thrive. But you can't think like that. When that desire comes in the heart, there's no question of thinking like that. But that's actually the reality. And I always joke, Kevin and I talk about this a lot, that you have to go to your relationships thriving, actually, if you want any hope for them being successful. Not that you'll think this relationship will fill me up, I'll become complete. They write songs like that. You complete me. I'm like, that should go on Comedy Central, boy. That's some real comedy right there. So arama, arama means they're deriving their enjoyment from within. Just their thoughts. They can just sit there and just arrive. You just sit there like thinking about the sacred texts and so many things to contemplate. They derive happiness. Tata antarjyotir eva yaha. And their antarjyoti, their aim is within. Their focus is on the self within, not on the external things. So Sa Yogi, this yogi is Brahma Bhuta. Brahma Bhuta means he is self-realized. He's realized his actual self. Different from the body. As Krishna will later on say in the Gita, Brahma Bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. That the Brahma Bhuta person is prasanna atma. He's always joyful. Na shochati na kankshati. He does not lament for what is lost, and he does not hanker for what he does not have, which is our situation. What is lost, we're crying about that. What is not there, we are hankering. And in the present time, we're just bewildered, looking crazy. Well, the self-realized person is like this. So this person is Brahma Bhuta. Brahman Nirvana Adhigachati. This person will attain Brahman Nirvana, which is a generic term for saying liberation. They will become liberated. So this person gets liberation. Again, unless you're experiencing that sort of, I don't know what the right word is, like solidarity is not the word I'm really looking for. Unless you're feeling all of that happiness within, then you won't be able to attain liberation, because the body will force you to go without into the world of the gunas. And the world of gunas is like a I don't know. I'm thinking like a Venus flytrap. I don't know why that's coming in mind. They have these plants somewhere in South America, I guess, that are like alive. Well, all plants are alive, of course, but these ones are like really alive, and they like the branches like grab you and like kind of like swallow you up. I know this isn't just from Jumanji. There are like actual plants that exist like this, right? You've ever heard? There's some. I don't know if they eat people. They.
I've seen them that eat like frogs and mice. So
no, some plants.
Large creatures.
Yeah.
And these are big plants. Yeah.
I don't know Eve, but anyway,
yeah,
that's scary. But
just dissolve them.
So yes, so you can imagine this world like a forest of such trees, just ready to swallow us up.
I think the word is continent.
Continent for?
You're saying that state whereby you're not susceptible to.
Continent is okay.
No, continent.
Continent, that is okay. Yeah, we could say that. So if you're not. Santosha is a similar idea, satisfaction from the self. Krishna also uses that word earlier, atmatushta. They're getting santosha, tushta from the self. Then if you don't have that, then this world is ready to swallow you up. You ain't going nowhere, buddy. So that is the consequence of not taking self-realization serious. Like sometimes Prabhupada bring up, people say, what is all this talk about self-realization when people are hungry? No, it's important. Because if you don't become self-realized, you'll be stuck in a horrible situation among animals. And when everyone's an animal, who's in the position of power? Whoever is the bigger animal. That's just the way nature plays itself out. Therefore, modern civilization is doomed, actually, because they try to find solutions while remaining animal. But you cannot find solution while remaining animal, because the nature of the animal consciousness is that the bigger animal will subordinate the lower animals. What is that? Jivo jivasa jivanam. The weaker creature is food for the stronger one. That's the way nature plays itself out. We see that, of course, if you watch Animal Planet or whatever. Just yesterday, one friend was telling me about the, what do you call it? the insect,
Praying mantis.
the praying mantis, and how the guy, he goes to mate with the praying mantis, she's bigger. And he said after, the whole situation gets over, he like backs out slowly because he knows what's coming. He tries to back out slowly, and then she just chops off his head and eats his head. I was like, dang. Whew. Talk about consequences.
and they look like the most elegant people in waistcoats and everything.
Yes.
Their bodies look like
Yeah. So that is the nature of the animal kingdom. The bigger creature will subdue the weaker one. So so if you don't become human, then this will be you have to live in a very dangerous atmosphere. Legislation will be useless once the bigger creature is there. What will your legislation do? Nothing. So therefore, we say self-realization is most important. There's a nice verse. I should learn this verse. I haven't learned it yet, but the English translation goes, one can lose a member to save a family. One can lose a family to save a village. And one can lose a village to save a country. And one can lose a country to save himself. And this is a verse spoken in the context of the importance of self-realization, that the whole world can be abandoned for this particular purpose of self-realization. That's how important it is. Well, next verse, we're just going to finish this section up. Labante Brahma Nirvana Rishaya Kshina Kalmasaha Chinna Dvaidhaya Tatmana Sarvabhuta Hiterata. So who is a person who attains liberation? This is just being mentioned. There are many persons. They're called Rishi. Rishaya Kshina Kalmasaha. They are, Kshina Kalmasaha means they are devoid of all sins. The root of sin is ignorance. Sinful activity comes from sinful desire. And sinful desire comes from ignorance. And of course, we heard earlier in verse 5:10, this word sin is actually used as a category. It refers to virtuous activities also. Virtuous activities are also part of the material existence. So they bind you in another way, and sin binds you in another way. Like gold chain binds you, and silver chain also binds you, iron chain also binds you. So Kshana Kama Saha means the destruction of ignorance that causes this sinful activity, or the pious activity, as it were. Chinna Dvaida. Chinna means to cut. They have cut all duality. They've transcended it. Yata Atmanaha. And because their minds are engaged in the self. Sarabhuta Hiterataha. They perform welfare activity for all beings. Again, this in the context of the karma yogi, this makes a lot of sense. They still kind of engage in the world. But just by not exploiting other living entities, you also do a lot of welfare work for the world. Just like sometimes vegetarians or vegans, vegetarians, they try to convince people that just by not eating meat, then you do so much benefit for the world. And they try to give some figures, to help people see the impact they can have by just not eating meat. So similarly, Sarvabhuta Hiterataha, just by not trying to exploit the living entities, you also do welfare work for them, which is not our habit, of course. This person, Labante Brahma Nirvana, they attain the liberation, Brahma Nirvana. Next verse. Kama Krodha Vimukta Nam Yati Nam Yata Chetasam Abhito Brahma Nirvana Vartate Viditatmana. So Kama Krodha Vimuktanam, this person is finally free from Kama and Krodha. Before we heard he was tolerating Kama and Krodha. Here he's saying he's free, so this person is even more, it's gone even deeper. So deep that Kama Krodha Vimuktanam, he's completely free from Kama and Krodha. You can imagine such a person. It's like incredible. Kama and Krodha. Therefore, such persons were offered obeisances. This is the Brahma-Bhuta person also. Yes. Kama Krodha. So sometimes people, when they see these sannyasis come in, and people who are new and they see so many humans are bowing down to them, why are you bowing down? That's just a man. No, because that common Krodha is not there. So for that reason, you get an obeisance. If you don't need that, y'all know what that is. If you don't need that, then you get an obeisance. Sorry, getting a little hashtag real talk here. If you don't need that, you get an obeisance. So sometimes, why are you not offering an obeisance? Because you need that. Therefore, you don't get an obeisance. Kama Krodha Vimuktanam, Yatinam. Yatinam means they are. Yeti means a renunciate. They're usually called Yeti. They can really control themselves. Yeta Chetasaham. Their minds are fully controlled or weak. No, another translation I was studying that Yeta Chetasaham means their subtle body has become weak. The force of their subtle body within has become weak by their practice of self-realization. Whereas our subtle body is very strong, right? We really identify with our emotions and the movements of it and so on. Here, by these practices, Yetta Chetasam means their subtle bodies become very weak. The influence on them is like nothing. Abhito Brahmanirvanam Vartate Viditatmanam. Such a self-realized person is assured Brahman Nirvana in the very near future. That's how Prabhupada translates. He attains, or Brahman Nirvana comes to him very quickly. So verse 27, 28, and 29, these are the last verses of the chapter. They're kind of introducing the next chapter. So because it kind of just suddenly shifts gear to Krishna talking about the sadhana that's meant for a yogi. So I'll just read these verses, but these verses you can say are kind of like a sutra or seed that will be unpacked in the next chapter. They're kind of transitional verses where Krishna here is saying, shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows. The purpose of that is so you don't sleep and you don't stare at everything. So you keep it looking between the eyebrows, like half open. It's very irritating, actually. But if you close the eyes, you sleep. And if you open them, you look here and there. So keep between the eyebrows. Suspending the inward and outward breaths within the nostrils. These pranayama exercises helps one to focus the mind. And thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence, the transcendental is aiming at liberation. Moksha parayanaha, he is surrendered to the goal of liberation. He becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One who is always in this state is certainly liberated. So these practices are the practices of an ascetic or a yogi, which Krishna will elaborate on in the next chapter, so we'll not elaborate on them here. And the last verse is Krishna speaking kind of again by himself. Seems a little bit kind of out of place, except for the fact that the yogi's object of meditation is generally the Paramatma. And so this verse in that context makes sense also. Bhoktaram jagya tapasam sarva loka maheshwaram suridam sarva bhutanam gyantva mankshantam richati. So bhoktaram jagya tapasam. So one who knows the Paramatma or God as the beneficiary of all the yagyas and tapas. So karmis in Vedic culture, they do yagyas to get material things. And the Gyanis, they do tapas to get spiritual things. But who is the beneficiary of all those activities? It is the Supreme Lord. Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, you understand, he is the Maha Ishvara, the Supreme Lord of the whole worlds. Usually that is our main problem. We have a confusion about who is the proprietor of what. Just like you think you're the proprietor of your phone, isn't it? So you use your phone for your own purposes, isn't it? Yeah, that makes sense. I do that too. Who is the actual proprietor? It is Supreme Lord. Who is the proprietor of the body? It is ultimately the Paramatma. Why? Because he is the proprietor of the world, and these bodies and objects in them are generated from the world. And he is the owner of the world, so he is a proprietor. In a devotional sense, that means all those things are supposed to be used for him. So that is the realization of Sarva Loka Maheshwara. Suridam Sarva Bhutanam. He is a well-wisher of all entities because he does not make judgments based on their external situation. For one who knows this about me, Gantva Mam, someone who knows this about me, Shantim Richati, then they will achieve, Shanti means peace, which is another sort of synonym for liberation. Those who meditate on Paramatma in this way, they will attain liberation. So he will elaborate on this in the next chapter, which deals with the yoga system as it's kind of popularly thought of today. So we'll stop there. Are there any questions? You wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was watching a video on YouTube of flying fish. And it basically was saying, when you're making the point about how the animals suffer, the flying fish are trying to escape from these sea creatures that are gobbling them down. So they fly in the air, but there are birds above that are grabbing them from above. So,
no escape.
Yeah, it's like 5 minutes of this footage, and you see like a whole school of flying fish, and they're either getting gobbled down from below or grabbed from above. It's just pathetic.
No, this is the plight of the jiva in the material world. No shelter. You want to hear for shelter? No shelter. There's a very beautiful verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Shall I read it? Yes.
Yes.
This verse is very, very nice. This is after Krishna has just appeared from Devaki. So she begins offering many beautiful prayers. It's the 10th canto, chapter 3. She offered many beautiful prayers, and one of the prayers, this is 10.3, I think it's 27. I'll just read the English. Yeah, I love this verse. Martyo mrityu vyala tapala. Yeah, so Martyo mrityu vyala bitapalayan. This means Martya means those who are sentenced to death. So that's all of us. Mrityu vyala bhita. They are always palayan, they're always running away in fear of the serpent of death, looking for shelter. Where are they running? Lokan sarvan, all over the universe. The souls are looking for shelter from the serpent of death. Nirbhayam, but they do not find a place that is free from fear. Not adyagachat means they do not find a place that is free from fear. Wherever they go, the serpent is there. Tatpadhamjam prapiya dritchayadya, but if somehow or other they obtain the shelter of your lotus feet. Susta shete. This word is Prabhupada, this is very sweet. They are sleeping in full mental composure. They sleep very nicely. And fear itself is running away from them. Anyway, I drew a picture of this. Oh, well, I tried to draw a picture of this. Let me see if I can find it really quick in my 100-day challenge thing. It's drawing feet is like really, really hard. But I did my best, and I have a picture. Oh, yeah, here it is. Yeah, this is the picture here of this particular verse. So the bird represents the soul, and these are all the different planetary systems inside the material world. So the soul is fleeing from one planet to another, but everywhere he goes, the serpent of death is coming after him. But when he takes shelter of the feet of the Lord, then he's able to sleep nicely. No more fear of death. Okay, so we'll stop there. We'll take about 5 minutes. You guys can look through some of these questions for the last part and also for the whole chapter. Break up into groups. There's not many of you, but you can just work with one person. Look at these questions just to get a little refresh of the whole chapter. And then if there are any questions at the end, we'll just take them. You have chapter 4. Oops. Here's chapter 5. Okay. All right, online guys. We're going to close out here. Thank you all for joining. I hear the stage out.